Hi, everyone. It's Maya from the social media team here with my friend Dallis the Science Diva. Hey, Dallas, how you
Yes,
doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm excited.
Me too. Me too. I'm always excited to pause for a moment of science.
Yeah. So she's going to be here sharing some science with us. If you have kids, put them in front of the laptop, TV screen. This can serve as their science lesson for the day. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
she's going to be sharing some cool stuff with us today. Um, I don't even know where to start. I'm just going to hand it over to you, okay, Dallas?
Okay, no problem. No
All
problem. I'm
right.
very happy to be here. Yes, very happy to be here. How's everyone doing today? This is Dallas the Science Diva here. As I always start off, I ask you to pause for a moment of science. I'm so glad that you're taking a moment to spend with me this afternoon, taking a break from your day, maybe your schoolwork or your job. I am really excited to talk to you about something very familiar to me, and that is animal adaptations. Yes, animal adaptations. So I have a question for you. As you are preparing yourself to pause with me for a moment of science, I want to know from you, are you adapted? That is the question. And that is the answer that we're going to explore by taking a look at a variety of different living things. So, first and foremost, are you adapted? What does that mean, adapted? To be adapted. What does it mean to have an adaptation? I have quite a few living things here that are going to help explain that for us. What does it mean to be adapted? So, scientifically speaking, to be adapted means that you are suited for your environment. You're able to survive with characteristics, traits, behaviors, and you're able to reproduce. So keep those things in mind, because as we go through today's time together, we're going to be talking about all the unique ways that animals are adapted for their environment. You can tell a lot about an animal based off of its color, based off of its features. It can tell you where that animal is found and how it survives there. So I've been a science teacher for about 15 years, and I have been um, learning for 15 years, actually, because when you are a teacher, you are a constant learner. And Dallas the Science Diva has come from my love of teaching and also my love of the sciences. My goal is to inspire you to realize that science has no limits and that science is everywhere, which makes you by default a scientist. So I'm going to ask you right now, as we pause for a moment of science together and we explore these adaptations, place your pretend goggles on. I have my bedazzled goggles here. Put your goggles on. And all I need is an open mind, because an open mind is ready for discovery. Okay? So I hope you're ready to discover with me. So, first and foremost, let me tell you the animals we're going to take a look at. Let me tell you what they are. The first animal that we're going to take a look at is a ball python. All right, a ball python. I also have a rose-haired tarantula. I have a leopard gecko. I have a couple Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and I have a white tree frog for you. What do you say? We're going to talk about them in a moment. We're going to take some of them out, especially my snake. We're going to start with my snake. And then I'm going to ask you to think the whole time about how they are adapted for their environment. Okay. So we're going to dive into the life sciences. But let me just give you a tour of my little my makeshift science lab here. I have quite a few things here. So if you're not really into life science, don't worry. There's a lot here that will hopefully pique your interest. So let's start over here. I have on my wall here some things about matter, solids, liquids, and gases. I just basically put my classroom here. We have down here my gecko, which I'm going to take out for you. We have a little rock collection over there. A balance, which is a really important tool when you're in the science lab to find the mass of objects. And here is my rose-haired tarantula. She's back there. I'm going to have to open up the lid so you can see her. I think she's towards the back. Yeah, she's towards the back. Yep, she's back there. And then up here, let me see here. Let me see. Up here, I can kind of give you a quick little tour, and I'll bring it back to you. Let's see. Down here's where I keep my snake, and we're going to go over some of the things about the snake's environment that help it to survive. Back here is my White's tree frog. And we'll open that up. A Madagascar hissing cockroaches. And guess what's right here? My snake. So let's meet my snake, Benjamin. Benjamin Banneker, to be specific. Benjamin is a ball python, and I would like to introduce you to him. Okay. So as we get set up, let's see. Oh, sometimes this happens. Okay. Hey, I'm going to kick you out and try clicking the link again. Uh-oh. Can you see it on yours? I wonder what happened.
We still see you, Dallas.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
All right. Okay, so let's see. Let's take out our ball python and let's take a look at this particular species. How many people here like snakes? Can I tell you truthfully and honestly, it took me a long time to appreciate snakes because I was a little scared of them at first, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm really just getting to know my snake here. This is a ball python that I got from my classroom, and he's really cool, he's really chill. So let me introduce you to Benjamin, and I want you to notice and make some observations about him, because one of the things about science, a lot of information that we learn is based off of our ability to observe. So observation means to use your senses. That's what it means to observe. When you use your senses, you are using your sense of sight, you're using your sense of touch, your sense of hearing, sometimes your taste. So here's my, oh, he's so pretty. Every time I see him, I look at those colors. So if you want to know a lot about an animal, look at its colors, look at its patterns. So there's a unique pattern on Benjamin that I want you to take a look at. But if you notice, immediately as I took Benjamin out, he went into like a curled up ball. Ball pythons are the smallest of constrictor snakes, and they curl up in a ball as a way to defend themselves. It's one way that they are adapted, because they are usually found in the grasslands of Western Africa. Western and Central Africa. So they're found in the grasslands there. And if you notice, the colors that Benjamin Banneker has there allow him to camouflage. So that means he's usually in on the ground, maybe under a log, and those colors help him to camouflage. So take a look at those colors. How many colors do you see there? He's looking at you. So what's so very unique about ball pythons as well is that they are constrictors, which means that they're not venomous. They do not use venom to kill their prey. They instead are very muscular. And when they want to eat their mouse or their rat, they're going to wrap their body around that animal tight enough so that it can constrict it, and then eventually it will swallow it. So we're not going to necessarily watch Benjamin eat right now, but if you were to watch him eat, he can swallow his prey whole. It's a wonderful adaptation that snakes have so that they can quickly swallow their prey. And what they do is they stretch their jaw really, really, really wide. It would be almost like us eating a watermelon. It's pretty phenomenal. They can unhinge their jaws, but what's unique about snakes is they have multiple connections in their jaw that allow them to stretch so large. And then what's even better is that they have very good digestive juices in their stomach. When you and I eat, our digestion starts as soon as we put the food in our mouth. That saliva begins to break down our food. Our teeth begin to mash up the food into a form that our body can digest. Snakes skip that part. So all of that digestion then happens in their stomach. So they are adapted to be able to swallow their prey whole and digest before getting rid of what they don't need. Let's see if you can see him. There you go. So that's Benjamin. Now, what's also unique about snakes is that they are covered in scales and they shed. And Benjamin actually has a little bit of his last shed on his skin there. But their scales are really unique. Underneath, when you hold them, you can sometimes feel them. And it's what makes a snake a reptile is that they're covered in scales. When Benjamin is about to shed its skin, his eyelids, let me see if you can see his eyes right there. His eyelids get really cloudy. And I was hoping that he wouldn't shed anytime soon so I could take him out. When snakes are shedding, they're very vulnerable. And the reason they're vulnerable is because their eyelids, which are clear, they also shed. and they become cloudy and they can't see so well. So they oftentimes say if your snake's eyes become cloudy, leave it be until it's done shedding, because that's when they're most vulnerable. A lot of times I get questions about this snake. Does this snake bite? Well, I always say to my students, if it has teeth, it bites. Simply put, right? So if it has teeth, it can bite you. Is this likely to bite? I think I got a really good snake. He pretty much hangs out in a ball. That's why I got him. Ball pythons. They're pretty docile and really good pets if you were into snakes. And before he would bite, he would probably curl up in a ball first. So the best part about snakes and all living things is they give you warnings. They give you signs that something's wrong, that they're scared or they're alarmed. They give you a chance to step back. They give you a chance to flee, before you get bit. So Benjamin's pretty cool like that. Now, one other thing I want to show you before I put him away is his coloration. So I've mainly been showing you the top of Benjamin, but what's unique about some animals is they have coloration on the top that's very dark, and they have coloration underneath that can be very light. And you're going to see that in some of the animals that I have here, especially my white tree frog. My white tree frog has that same type of variance in coloration. And this is an adaptation as well. It's an adaptation as well. So let's say, for example, this snake ventures out of its habitat, and let's say it climbs up a tree, right? Let me show you what Benjamin looks like underneath. He's so comfortable. Oh, look at his tongue coming out. I didn't tell you about the snake's ability to smell too, but let's just turn him this way. So, can you see what he looks like underneath? Right there without disturbing him too much. He's white underneath. Do you see that? I wonder how that helps him to be adapted for his environment. Think about it for a second. You have two shades, dark on the top, light on the bottom. Sharks have this, fish have this, frogs have this. I wonder why. Think about it for a second before I tell you. This is an adaptation that's referred to as counter shading. So that means if this snake is high up in the tree and I'm a predator looking up, that white underbottom or that white belly will allow the snake to blend in with the brightness of the sky if it happens to be out at that time. That's what scientists do believe. And then also, if you're looking at the snake from the top down, then the snake is dark enough to camouflage in with the grasslands that it's crawling through. Okay, so we have a question from Aisa Johnson. Good to see you, Aisa, Aubrey, and Javon. How often do snakes eat? So it depends on a lot of things. It depends on the age of the snake. It may also depend on its habitat. My snake and ball pythons in general are very finicky eaters at first. So they suggest that you feed the snake a mouse one time a week or so. But when this particular snake is growing and they're babies, they don't always eat. Oftentimes snakes fast for sometimes 3, 4, 5 months. They just don't eat, maybe because they're not comfortable with their environment. Maybe they're just going through things. I don't know, but I've learned that ball pythons can go through fast. But generally speaking, once a week is when I try to feed my snake. And then as it gets older, that might change based on its needs. As it gets older, it may not eat as much because the food that it's eating is larger. It's almost very similar to humans when we grow. We eat a lot more when we're younger because we have such a dramatic growth spurt, right? But then as we get older, our meals ideally become a little bit more spaced out and not as frequent. I think the snake is the same way in all animals in general. But for the most part, I'm going to say that I give this snake about 1 mouse or so per week. And they're frozen mice. Although snakes do prefer to eat things that are moving because they like to prey on things, and their ability to pick up and sense and hear things moving is what allows them to catch their prey. This snake was born in captivity and has been trained to eat frozen mice. So the little frozen mice that I have in the freezer, sometimes they disturb people that look in my freezer, but they're there for Benjamin. Any other questions? That was a good question. Benjamin has a really unique sense of smell. Snakes in general have a forked tongue. So he's kind of chill right now, but sometimes he'll stick his tongue out to smell. So that forked tongue, oh, there it goes. He went that way. I'm trying to show your tongue to the people. This way. Maybe from the side you'll be able to see his tongue come out. Let's see. Their tongue is so unique because their tongue is literally picking up chemicals in the air, very similar to the way we smell. But these chemicals that they're picking up in the air, they stick that forked tongue out and they place it in an organ called a Jacobson's organ in the side of their mouth. And that's connected to their brain. And it's what allows them to interpret the chemicals that are in the air so they know what they're smelling. They really heavily rely upon their sense of smell. Their eyesight is not the best. And being that they are nocturnal, they're more active at night and it's dark, they have to really rely on their tongue to be able to find their prey. All right. I've read that we as humans also have this Jacobson's organ in our nose as well. It's a collection of sensory cells that are really condensed that allow us to interpret smell. It goes right to our brain. All right, so that's Benjamin. His adaptations are amazing. And if you're not really a fan of snakes, I understand, I get it. But what I want you to do instead is try to be a fan of the science behind how they are adapted for their environment. This is a ball python. And Benjamin can live quite a few years. They can live about, I want to say, 50 to 60 years, maybe 40 years or so at the most. He's going to get more thick than he is going to get long, and that's going to be requiring another tank. But I have a heated side for him and a cool side because snakes, that's the last thing I want to share with you about snakes, is that they are cold-blooded, right? They're cold-blooded. You probably heard of this before. The idea of living things being cold-blooded versus warm-blooded. Cold-blooded animals do not have the ability to regulate their body temperature. They can't keep their temperature stable. They have to depend on the environment. They have to sit on a rock and sunbathe, or they may have to go under the shaded tree to cool off if they're too hot. So cold-blooded animals are known to be able to find ways around this idea that they cannot control their body temperature. So I have to make sure that I provide for him something similar to his environment, a day and nighttime side so that he can cool off or warm up when needed. As humans, we are warm-blooded, which means our body temperature is stable. Even when we're very hot, even when we're very cold, our body is designed to be able to maintain that temperature. Now, what's interesting is that I just lost my train of thought. Oh, the only time our temperature will change is if we're not feeling well, right? That's when we know that something's wrong. But generally speaking, on a very hot day, your temperature stays pretty stable. Okay, we have a question from Goldie Joelle Whitley. How big could Benjamin get? So Benjamin, I was reading about it, and I don't think I was really aware of this, to be quite honest, but Benjamin can get up to 6 feet long. 6 feet. And it depends. Males versus females vary by a few feet or so, but potentially he can get pretty long and he can get pretty thick around as well. So yeah, he's a baby. He's a baby, which is probably the best way that I would be able to get to know a snake is when they're really small. Let's see if we can see his tongue come out for you. He's probably very comfortable. All right, so this is Benjamin Banneker, my ball python. What I'm going to do before I place him in my tank is I'm going to just put him in this pillowcase. It kind of is a nice way of keeping the snake safe because I took him out of his environment. I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. So we're just going to put him in the pillowcase like so. I don't think he wants to go in. So I'm just going to put him in the pillowcase and hand him off to my lovely assistant, Joelle. Thank you, sis. All right, so now what I would like to do next is, let's take a look at my tarantula. Now, before you get worked up, because I'm not a fan of spiders. However, I like when they're nice in this cage where I can observe and learn from them. We're not going to take the tarantula out, but I would like to show you the tarantula up close and personal. What I'm going to do is just leave you there. I'm going to place the tank right here for now, open the lid, and then we're going to peer in and take a look at my tarantula, Charlotte. So this is a rose-haired tarantula. Rose-haired tarantulas, and this particular rose-haired tarantula is from Chile, all right? And this oftentimes is referred to as a Chilean rose-haired tarantula. And tarantulas are amazing, once again, because of those adaptations. So let's take a look at Charlotte. She does move kind of fast, but I think that we can just kind of angle the camera down in her tank so we can see her without disturbing her too much. All right, so. All right, let's see if that looks good. So see if that looks good. And if that's good for you, that That's good for me. So what I would like to do is, first of all, kind of get you familiar with these ideas of spiders. The first question I oftentimes get about spiders: is it venomous? Yes, it is. This spider, this Chilean rose-haired tarantula, is actually a venomous spider. But all spiders are venomous. The question is the venom strong enough? Is the venom strong enough to actually harm us or kill us? So this particular tarantula's venom, maybe it will give you the reaction of like a mosquito bite. But other than that, Chilean rose-haired tarantulas are common tarantulas to have as pets, and they do not have the ability to kill us, but they do have fangs, and those fangs are part of an adaptation that they share as well. So Chilean rose-haired tarantulas are actually desert animals, and they have unique adaptations that allow them to survive. So I'm just going to kind of go up close on the tarantula so you can see her. Notice that she does have webs throughout her tank, but the webs that she spins are not, they're not actually, what is the word? They're not designed to catch their prey. These webs are designed to just mark their territory. So let me just show you how she has marked her territory here. I'm gonna grab my pointer for you. And what I'm gonna do is lift that up. Look at that. It's like a carpet, that web right there. It's very strong, those webs. But this is not the type of spider that would use a web to necessarily catch insects. Instead, this particular spider, tarantulas, are really great predators. They can sit quietly, they can detect motion with their many eyes, and then they also have fangs. So let me just move my log out for you. There she goes. She's moving a little bit. All right, in the corner. I'm just going to move the log out so we can get a good look at her. Oh, she's moving up. Okay, Charlotte, stay where you are. We don't want you coming up this way. We just want to look at you. Perfect, perfect. She's just saying hello. So I want you to take a look. This is a spider, and we know that spiders have 8 legs. So it's hard to kind of count all her legs because of her. She's pretty hairy there. But she does have 8 legs, and she is adapted for her environment. She oftentimes will burrow in this substrate that I have right here and hide under that log. She's pretty comfortable now in her tank though, so she hangs out for the most part out here. What I love about spiders and tarantulas in general is that they molt. They shed their whole entire skin. They're very similar to like crabs, lobsters. They have an exoskeleton, an outside shell that allows them to have their support on the outside of their body. So humans, for example, we have an endoskeleton. Our skeletal support is internal, but this particular animal has an exoskeleton. And that exoskeleton, when it wants to grow, has to molt or come off. And when these spiders molt, they leave the most beautiful molt in the tank, so much so that it looks like another spider. The very first time I got a tarantula for my classroom, I came in one morning and I was so stunned. I said, how did I get 2 spiders? Because they literally molt every single piece of their body, including their fangs. And then I looked close enough. I said, oh my Lord, she went through a molt. And so I took the molt out and it looked just like the tarantula. It's amazing. But let me tell you about Charlotte. You know, the venom that she has is so very important because Charlotte also, like my snake, is not able to chew its food. So let me tell you the adaptation. That venom is used to turn the inside of that animal that it's eating, whether it be a beetle, an insect, a mealworm, maybe another spider. When it's eating its prey, it needs to turn its prey into mushy soup. So basically, it injects its fangs into its prey, and then it inserts that venom, that chemical, and it starts digesting that animal from the inside out. Yes. So that all it needs to do, once it turns the inside of its prey into soup, all it needs to do is slurp it up like a straw. That's how tarantulas eat. That's how they eat. They take their venom, and just like a straw, They turn their prey into soup, and then dinner is served. But it's all because of that wonderful adaptation of having that venom that we're oftentimes pretty scared of, rightfully so, but it's there for a reason. Charlotte also, if she's scared, she oftentimes will flee very quickly, and then she will shoot those little hairs out of the back of her abdomen. So spiders, unlike insects, have two body parts. They have a head. They have like a head thorax combination and then their abdomen. And that back part of her body, if she's scared, she'll shoot those hairs out at her predator or whatever is threatening her to slow them down, because those hairs can be a little itchy if they get in your skin. So that's my Chilean rosehair tarantula. I feed her crickets. And I also do have some mealworms in here that I think I might leave for her inside of her seashell. Maybe that'll be a nice little treat for her. I'll put some mealworms there for you. So I'll feed her before we put her away. I have a container of mealworms here that I have for my insects that like to eat, or my animals that like to eat insects. Oh, that's a nice view. Let me see if she wants some mealworms. Let me show you my mealworms. Although these mealworms are meant to be food, they're another science lesson altogether as well, because they go through a change. They change into a pupa stage before they turn into beetles. So right now I have a couple mealworms that have been in here for a little while, so there are various stages of their metamorphosis. So here's one mealworm, that's the larva stage, that's the worm. If you want to compare this to a butterfly, it's like the caterpillar stage of a butterfly. And then, you know, the butterfly goes into the pupa stage, and then that's the pupa. Right? And then after this stage, we have what is called a darkling beetle. So let's see if we have any darkling beetles in here. I don't think we have any beetles yet that have changed. Mostly we have just the mealworms, and take a look at these exoskeletons that have shed. Right? Okay, so let's put a couple mealworms down here for Charlotte. Come a little closer. And we'll place them right here, and we'll just observe. A lot of times when you keep animals, you have to be very patient and just observe what they do. They don't always do things on cue, but that's a moving mealworm, and that might attract her, because although she's sitting still right there, she has quite a few eyes that allow her to see what's going on. She's just a really good predator. She's waiting for the right time. Let's see. So those mealworms are going to start moving around. Let's see if Charlotte's interested in mealworms. I actually haven't fed her mealworms before. I usually give her crickets. It might take her a while to notice that they're there, so we'll move her. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna just flip the camera really quick so that we can kind of get a better view of what we're looking at. And let's just give it a few moments. And if there's any questions, this would be a good time to ask while we wait to see if Charlotte actually does come after her new meal. Let me see. Last time I did this, I screamed. So I'm going to just try to be cool. Oh, why is she coming up this way, honey? Go the other way. She's pretty quick, so I don't want to disturb her to run up towards me, but I do want her to go back towards the mealworms. So let's see if she can notice that they're there. Let's see. Can you go the other way? There you go. Just go down that way. There we go. Let's see if we can kind of direct her back the other way and see if she might want to eat those mealworms for us before we... Notice how she's raising up like that. Tarantulas, oftentimes, if they feel a little threatened, they'll raise up and show their fangs. It's like showing their muscles, like, hey, leave me alone. Leave me alone. All right. So I know that this tarantula is definitely a female because a couple years ago, after I got her, she laid eggs. It was the most amazing thing. She sure did. She laid eggs and okay, let's put her over there by those mealworms. Let's see if she likes them. Let's see. Maybe she's not so interested, but like I said, we got to give it a little bit of time. Maybe later on when I take a look, she may actually eat them. She's probably also a little disturbed right now too. We'll give her a little privacy. All right, so I oftentimes when I have this tank, I make sure that there's something heavy on top because she is very strong, believe it or not. She is very strong. Okay, so I'm back. And I wanted to tell you about how I know that she's a female. Not too long ago, when I first got her, I had this really cool video on my page. It's called No More Spiders because she laid eggs. I've never seen a tarantula egg sac, but it was amazing. I came to my desk one day at school, and there were eggs. I was praying all through the rest of the year that they would not hatch into more tarantulas because I'm really okay with just one. But it was a phantom sac. It was a sac that just was not fertile, fortunately. So we're going to put Charlotte back up here on top of the snake tank. And let's take out my Madagascar hissing cockroaches. I know you guys just love cockroaches, right? I always have to try to calm people down about these Madagascar hissing cockroaches because these cockroaches are found in Madagascar. So they're very, very unique. Matter of fact, cockroaches have a really bad rap, and I understand why, because of the American cockroach. However, most of the species of cockroaches are not pests that enter homes. Most of them are living in the forest, trying to live their best life, honestly. Really, that's really most species are that way. This is one of them. So Madagascar, who knows where Madagascar is? Madagascar is a country, it's an island country off the coast of Africa. So here we are in the United States. To get to Madagascar, we cross the Atlantic Ocean, get to Africa, go to the southern eastern portion of Africa, and there, right there is Madagascar. You notice that Madagascar is very close to the equator. And the equator is a unique region in our Earth because of the way our Earth is shaped, this bulging area in the middle gets direct sunlight all year round. So that means the areas close to the equator are very warm and tropical. And that's where Madagascar hissing cockroaches are found. They're found in the rainforest of Madagascar. You can actually find them under the logs while walking. If you're ever taking a hike through the rainforest of Madagascar, you would see these cockroaches. Now, what I like about these cockroaches, and I love to do with them as classroom pets, I like to be able to use them as a great example of more adaptations that insects have, right? So what does it mean to be an insect? Let me take this off the wall. What does it mean to be an insect? It means that you have 3 body parts, you have 6 legs, 2 antennae, and an exoskeleton. So we know that the tarantula and the Madagascar hissing cockroach are somewhat similar in that they have that exoskeleton, but now we see a little bit more differentiation when it comes to our animals now. We start to see them start to go into their own categories. There's a lot that they share in common in terms of adaptations, but then there's a lot of things that make them unique. So what makes an insect unique are those 3 body parts. They also have really unique compound eyes. Some insects have wings, but not all. So this is an example of an insect. So I want to take them out for you. I want you to take a look at the adaptations that the Madagascar hissing cockroach has. All right, so I have 2, and they were named Maddie and Gascar. Oh, and they're male and female. All right, so I want you to take a look. First, I want to show you Gascar. This is the male. Let me show you him first. The male Madagascar hissing cockroach has horns on his thorax. But let's first of all identify the parts. So underneath, you see his head. It's It's a little tricky to see, but let's see if I can show it to you. There you go. All right. So that's its head where its antennae are coming out. Notice that Gascar has one antenna. And if you were able to see up close, if you wanted to, his antenna is really furry. Okay, so the head is underneath. This is the thorax, and the thorax has these horns on it. A little hard to see here. Let me see if I can bring it up to you. Yeah. Those horns right there are what males use to defend their territories. Madagascar hissing cockroaches are very territorial. Who would have thought? They like their own space, and they don't want anybody else entering. And if need be, they will fight using those horns. That's an adaptation that males have so that they can defend their territory and mate. Now, we also notice that the Madagascar hissing cockroach has that shiny exoskeleton. If you wanted to touch it, it feels just like your nail. So feel your nail for a second, because honestly, and I mean this really, that's exactly how the exoskeleton feels, just like your nail. Now, those 6 legs, you notice, have those little barbs on them. They don't hurt, but what's really cool is they have suction cups. See, I can turn it over and it's sticking to my hand. Now, they're called hissing cockroaches because they hiss. If they're bothered and they want, they want to scare you, they can't say, "Hey, leave me alone. Get out my way. Back up off me." They really don't have that vocabulary. No. Instead, they hiss. Yes, they hiss. And if you're ever lost for words and you want somebody to just back it up, try hissing at them, because it's pretty intimidating to hear a hissing sound. Hissing usually makes you think of a snake. Imagine walking through the rainforest and you pick up a log, which I don't recommend you do, but if you're adventurous, you pick up a log and all of a sudden you hear all this hissing. You're going to stop for a moment. You're going to stop in your tracks. And when you stop, these cockroaches scurry away. So that's their adaptation. Their hiss can't really hurt you, but maybe it gives them more time to scurry away. Now, these animals have been adapted to be able to push air out of their sphericals. So here down in their abdomen, they have these little tiny holes that they use to breathe. They also use it to make that hissing sound. I read that there are 3 types of hisses. There's a very short hiss designed to intimidate. Just like that, real quick and short. There's another hiss that's designed to let you know, listen, I'm not playing. Get out of my way. I'm going to defend my area. It's a little bit longer. It's like this. And then there's another hiss that is for attracting a mate. I mean, entomologists have done a lot of studies on these bugs. So I'm going to ask you, do you have a brother or sister? Do you have a friend? Maybe just you want them to leave you alone sometimes. I always tell my students, try hissing. See what happens. Try something new. Try it. It'll give you a good laugh at least. But that's how the Madagascar hissing cockroaches are adapted. This is how they defend themselves in their territory. They can't do much, but they can hiss. So that's the male. And the female, you'll notice, is a lot bigger than the male. She's also a lot more active. So she's a little bit bigger than the male. And she doesn't have those pronounced horns on the top of her thorax. She doesn't. She doesn't really need to fight. Most of the hissing and fighting goes on with the males. So that's the Madagascar hissing cockroach, found in the bottom of the forest floor. They oftentimes are there as decomposers. Have you heard of that word before? Decomposers. They're designed to break down anything that falls to the forest floor. They keep the forest floor clean, actually. And they are like scavengers. So what I feed them are my scraps. If I have an apple core or a piece of fruit, I'll throw it in there for the Madagascar hissing cockroach. Maybe a carrot, maybe even dog food is sometimes something that is given to them as well, because dog food has some nutritional value that's similar to the vegetation that a cockroach eats. But they are herbivores. Yep, they're herbivores. And I don't blame you if you're not really feeling cockroaches, but I really appreciate you pausing for a moment of science with me and at least kind of opening your mind so that you can discover some unique ways that animals are adapted. Remember, the whole idea is to keep your mind open for discovery. So pat yourself on the back. Once again, I had a job that, asked me to hold Madagascar hissing cockroaches and snakes at one point in time. So I had to get over it. But as I did, I opened my mind up, and now I'm able to really appreciate these living things. And trust me, they do not bite. They do not sting, because if they did, I would not be holding them. Trust me. Let me grab that ruler right there. I'm not really sure how long they are specifically, but I do know that this is a full-grown Madagascar hissing cockroach. So let's see if we can measure it. We have a question from Joanna Whitley. How long are they? So it looks like my female right now is measuring about 3 to 4 centimeters. And she decided to climb up there to show you herself. So maybe 3 centimeters would be like their full length. Good question. All right. Okay. So these are the Madagascar hissing cockroaches. We've been all over the world. We were in Central and West Africa with our ball python. We went to Chile with the Chilean rose-haired tarantula. And here we are in Madagascar. Let's now go to, let's go to Australia. Let's go to Australia. Let's climb a tree in Australia or New Zealand. And let's find a really cool amphibian. Let's take a look at a frog. Now this frog is known sometimes as a dumpy frog because they're kind of really fat and dumpy. They're cute, actually. I love them. My frog's name is Mario Molina, named after a chemist. So let me get Mario out for you. And what I'm going to do first is just bring the tank over so that you can take a look inside to see Mario's habitat. And then I want you to start looking at the observations. I'm sorry, I want you to make observations of Mario. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna do it a different way. Okay, this is going to fall. Oh. All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is a white tree frog. I want to show you this frog, but I want to also remind you that some of the animals that I have here, they're not really designed to be held, not necessarily just because I'm scared of them, but because it's not good for their health. So Mario is an animal that takes in moisture through his skin. So because of that, you have to be very careful with handling. They don't recommend that you hold them often because some of the oils on our skin may in fact carry bacteria that could make him sick. So I'm not going to handle him. Instead, he's actually perched on this tree perfect. So I can just show you. Let's just hope he doesn't jump off. All right, so he's holding on for dear life. This is Mario. Maybe I can just bring the camera in a little closer so you can see him and I don't have to move above the tank, just in case he decides to jump off. Mario also eats crickets. Remember I told you about that counter shading that my snake has? Let me see if I can turn Mario over a little bit. Maybe we can move the camera under him a little bit. Because underneath his body, he's also very light colored. You can see it really well when he's climbing up the tank. Let's see. I don't want him to fall off the twig. But Mario has, look at those fingers. They are just designed to be able to stick and climb. He's so adapted. So he starts off in the water, right? Here, well, he starts off in the water. I'll turn him this way. He looks like he's about to jump. He starts off in the water and he breathes with gills. And then he comes up on land and is adapted to then use lungs to breathe. We call that an amphibian. What a great adaptation. You're born in the water, but that's not where you're going to stay. You're adapted to be on land as well. Depends on the season of his life where he'll be. Maybe growing in the water is the best place for him. And then once he's big enough, he's able to handle the land. But nonetheless, everything about his features allow him to do both. I'm sure you're aware of that with frogs. So Mario is a white tree frog, oftentimes found in the tree. That's why it's called a white tree frog. Sorry. Sometimes when it comes to like names, of things, they're just kind of named after where they're found. Nothing really big. I read that he's called the white tree frog or Dumpy Frog because he was discovered by a scientist, a biologist with the last name White. Maybe someone with the last name White did a lot of research on this particular species of frog. So you can kind of see him breathing on the side. You see him there? I give Mario crickets. He might also be interested in mealworms as well. Let's see. And he needs to have a somewhat warm climate as well. So I give him a little bit of heat during the day or night, depending on how the weather is outside. And I make sure that I refresh this water for him. He also needs to be able to rely on his environment to change his body temperature. So, as we mentioned before with the snake, he's cold-blooded. He can't regulate that body temperature. So I have to make sure I provide him with heat and a cool side if necessary. So this is Mario. I wonder if he would even eat it out of my hand. That would be amazing if he sees it moving. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Let me see. There we go. Oh, he's like, no, I'm not feeling you. I'll put it down and let's see if he spots it because he has really good eyesight. Put a mealworm there for him. We'll put a couple in there for him. And one of the unique things that Mario has as an adaptation is his coloration. He has that counter shading, and oftentimes when my vegetation in the tank is really growing well, you can't even find him. That's how great he camouflages. He's made for his environment. He's not big. He can't bite. He has no venom in his skin. So he's been given a lot of vibrant colors to help him to blend into his environment. Let me see if I can find some more mealworms for him. Did he eat it? No. That mealworm escaped for its life. I think Mario probably is a lot more interested in crickets because crickets do a lot of moving around. They're easier to kind of spot. But we'll throw one more mealworm in there. Hopefully one of my animals will eat for you today. If you were hanging out a little bit longer, you would definitely see something happen there. But we'll see if we're so lucky. In a few weeks or a few days, I'm going to have a whole bunch of Darkling Beetles. These mealworms are definitely changing. All right, there's one moving. Get it, Mario. There he goes. Look closely. Yeah, he got it. Did you guys see it? Let's see. He's eating it. Just for you. Let's see. Oops. He sure did eat, and I think he's going to eat another one. I have to get my camera there for you. Sorry. So much moving around. He's really fun to watch. Those mealworms are trying to get away, though. All right, let me just flip my camera so that we can see what I'm shooting. There he goes. He's hungry. He just wiped his mouth. He's chomping away. He also has look at that eyelid that closes over his eyes. That's protection when he's eating. While he's swallowing, that protects his eyes just in case his prey are starting to get away or scratch at his face. That's a really cool membrane. A nictitating membrane, it's called. And we see him using that while he's swallowing his food. That's kind of cool. Okay. All right. That was cool. That was really cool. All right, so now we have one more animal to look at, and then hopefully I have some questions. I'm hoping that we have some questions coming. Hopefully that you are interested in these adaptations. And I haven't gone over all of them. There's so many that we could talk about. But we're gonna look at one more animal. I think I really like this particular gecko because of a unique adaptation it has to survive. I mean, these animals are already, solution-based. They have an answer for any challenge: getting their food, hiding from prey, finding a mate. They already have the solutions embedded inside of them. It's just up to us as scientists and biologists to observe them, and that helps us to better appreciate the way they're designed, right? If I have any biologists out there, I'm sure you can appreciate that. Biology is so close to you and I because we're living things, right? All right, so the last animal that I would like to share with you is my leopard gecko. My leopard gecko's name is Hardin. Hardin, named after James Hardin, actually. One of my good friends, her son, and they moved away and needed a home for the gecko. So I took him in. I think my students appreciate when I get more animals. But anyway, Hardin, what's unique about Hardin is that he actually is a girl. I keep calling it a he, but he's a girl. They found out that, oh no, this gecko is not a boy. This gecko is a girl. So we changed the name to Jamie Hardin. Apparently the gecko was named after the basketball player, James Harden. So now this is Jamie Hardin. She's a girl. And one of the things that you can do about geckos and how you know it's a girl is the male species of gecko, they are very spotted with very dark spots. That's her tail back there. They are spotted with dark spots. Does she want to come out? Let's get her out this way. But the female does not have any pronounced dark spots on them. So let me see if I can get her to come out the other end. Here, she'll come out. She's nocturnal, which doesn't work for us because, we want to see them come out. But in this case, we have to go to sleep and maybe get up in the middle of the night to see her active. So this is a leopard gecko. Now, what's really unique about these animals is that they have this really big, huge tail. That tail in the back is designed to protect the lizard. So if the lizard needs to run and flee and get away from its predator, it will pinch off or drop its tail. And the predator will eat its tail and not the gecko. And then the gecko can survive without that tail and go on and maybe even grow a new tail back. All right. What a great adaptation. Who would have thought? So not only are these animals adapted with the ability to seek warm and cold areas, because this is also an example of a cold-blooded animal, and they have special coloration that allows them to distinguish between males and females. So I imagine the males, the more spotted they are, maybe the more fit they may seem for the females to mate. But then we see this tail, the idea that tail, it's not necessary. And if need be, I'll leave it behind so I can survive. Sometimes you got to leave things behind, right? Sometimes you got to just kind of lose something to win something. And in this case, this gecko will lose its tail to gain and win its life. What a unique adaptation that is. So this is a leopard gecko. Leopard geckos can also live quite a few years as well. Leopard geckos are known to live around 15 years or so. And they also eat insects. So if you take a look at her bowl, she has some mealworms left over, dried crickets. Some of those mealworms are already changing. There's a really loud cricket in here that's always squeaking and singing that she hasn't gotten to yet. But she also has 2 lamps on her tank, needing up an area to keep warm and an area to stay cool. So that's my leopard gecko. And we can go on and on and on about this, trust me, about all the cool ways that these animals are adapted. And there's more to it than that. But those are the main things that make them really unique. Let me see if I can find that. I don't think I can find that other little cricket there. Let's see. Sometimes it's in there somewhere. All right. Let me cover her up. Actually, let me put her little... She's probably a little over being bothered, right? We'll let her get back to being a leopard gecko. We'll put on her evening lamp for now. And I mean, I am just so thrilled that you spent this time with me. Honestly, I really do love science, and biology and living things is just one aspect of what I teach. They're all very much connected. They are, they're not always existing by themselves, even though that's how we learn it sometimes. So to be able to make those connections, it's a lot of fun. Take a look at Mario taking a swim for us real quick. All right. Okay, so I think that is it in terms of my animals are concerned. I hope that I answered some of your questions. If you had more, I encourage you to definitely find me on whatever platform that you prefer. Dallis the Science Diva is everywhere. Just like science is everywhere, so am I. I'm always trying to come into your home to give you a better appreciation for science. Hi.
Hey, Dallas. Oh my goodness, that was so great. We have
Really?
we have a few questions from online.
Sure.
The first one is from Mark. How often are the animals fed?
How often the animals fed? So they vary. I'm going to say, generally speaking, depending on the age and the size of the animals, they could be fed once a week, sometimes twice a week. The snake gets a mouse once a week, Mark, because a snake takes a while to digest its food. So it can't have multiple meals in 1 week, for example, whereas the frogs and the geckos, they can eat a couple times a week when it comes to crickets.
Wow. Another question from Janet. How long will your gecko, how long will she live for?
Their life expectancy is about 20 years. And oftentimes animals, when they're kept as pets in captivity, they live longer than what they would at an environment. They don't have predators and things like they would in an environment to kill them. So I'm going to say if she's kept healthy, she can live about 20 years or so.
Awesome.
15, 20 years, yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. So I have a question. How did you get into all of this?
How did I get into all of this?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question. So I actually, when I was a high schooler, well, first of all, I've always loved animals. If you ask my family, I've always had some sort of little pet that I've begged to get from the pet store. So I've loved living things, which automatically kind of sparked my interest into sciences. And then I started volunteering at the aquarium in Camden for quite a few years as an educator. I started doing that as a high schooler. And then going away to college, I still always had some sort of science in my back pocket. I minored in marine and coastal sciences. I loved to swim. I loved the ocean. I scuba dived and studied coral reefs before. And then I also liked talking about it and educating people about it because it's just like really cool. It's really fun. So that then led me into working at another museum where I taught for a few years before I went into the classroom. So in the classroom as a science teacher, you have to have life in your room. You have to. It's just a given. So bringing science to life was something I did literally and figuratively. So I started collecting pets in my classroom. It became a little challenge in the summer. What do we do with these pets? And it became a little bit of challenge now, but it's working out fine. I'm able to bring most of them here. I have a couple guinea pigs that are staying at a neighbor's house. So it always works out. And I think my students learn from it and they learn how to take care of the animals and so forth. So that's really why I have all those pets.
We had a comment from, I believe it was Denise, who said that her daughters love animals. So it's great to see someone who looks like them being able to model a scientist and biologist and be able to share this information with us.
Yes, that's why I do this, because, you know, we don't see a lot of scientists that may resemble us. And I think it's important to be diverse and represent. So there are a lot of scientists that look like you, whoever you are out there that's watching right now. There's scientists that look like you. And if you don't see them, become one. Fill that space. You can do it.
All right. Does anyone else have some questions for Dallis the Science Diva? Trying to give people some time to leave their questions before we have to leave.
I can't believe that was an hour. I was just like lost. Like, oh, look at this.
I was glued to my screen, like, whoa. And when the tree frog, when he ate the worm, like, wow, I jumped out my chair a little bit.
Right? It's not exactly National Geographic, but it'll work, right?
Yeah, it works.
It works.
So Dallas, let us know, where can we find you on your pages?
Yes, sure. Dallis the Science Diva is on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, also Twitter at Dallis the Science Diva. If you search, there's no science diva out there named Dallis, honestly. So all you have to do is make sure you have the spelling correct, and I'll show you. Dallis the Science Diva, spelled Dallis, the Science Diva. And you can find me on all those social media platforms. Also, DallisTheScienceDiva.com is my website that I'm in the process of unveiling. So check that out. Next couple of days, we will be live with that. So look for me in those places.
All right, cool, guys. So definitely go check out her pages. Stay connected with her. Dallas, I want to thank you for joining us. And I'm
Thank
already
you.
going to extend the invitation for you to come back with some more
Of
science
course.
stuff for us.
Of course.
So thank you for,
Oh,
yeah.
you're very welcome. I also will be on NJTV Live this Thursday. So
Oh, so
a week from
cool.
today, I did a lesson on cells that is going to
Okay.
be broadcast, and I'll be placing that in my social media where you can watch that at. But NJTV Live asks teachers to provide lessons for students since they're all home.
Mm-hmm.
So I did do a lesson that's going to air on Thursday, May 21st at 12 p.m. It's
Awesome.
called Take a Selfie with Me. We're going to be studying cells.
So cool. I'm definitely going to tune in for that.
Okay, I hope so.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this presentation and enjoy seeing all the different animals that we have and their forms of adaptation.
Yeah.
Dallas, I'm excited for you to come back
Yes.
and see what
Yes.
else you're going to share with us, okay?
I would love to. Never stop learning, everybody. Never stop learning.
All right. We'll see you guys later.